So, because it is a criminal investigation, I want to make sure that you know you don't have to talk to me. And it doesn't mean that we do have to clear up something. Like I have a question for you about our report is basically what it comes down to. But
Sure.
it's, but I have to let you know this investigation is determine whether any criminal laws have been violated that this has resulted in the death of. We're going to go off the card a little bit. Any laws have been violated during the investigation into the death of Tamla Horsford. It is not an administrative or disciplinary inquiry. If you are not being compelled to give any statement or answer any questions, your cooperation in this investigation is voluntary. Are you okay with talking to me about your role in the investigation into her death? Okay. So I wanted to ask you, Andy, there was a report where you talked to Jose Barrera about Tamla's arm being moved.
Right.
Did you call him? Did he call you? Do you remember?
I called him.
Okay. What prompted you to call him about that?
Well, Mike had given me some information about, the injuries to the body and of what significance they could or would be. And Jose had initially said in the 911 call that he had touched the body and actually tried to take a pulse. So I was asking him if that's why, if for what reason he had touched or moved the body or touched her arm.
He said he did or didn't touch her body during the original interview?
Yeah.
And Mike had told you that, or you knew that from the actual interview with Jose? Do you remember? And when you say Mike, you mean Mike
Christian? I mean Mike Christian. No, Mike had told me, in discussing the case in the first few days, what he had gleaned so far. And then, of course, reading the reports and listening to, some of the 911 tapes. I knew Jose. We had no social relationship. We were nothing more than acquaintances. And so I said, well, let me give him a call and, see if indeed why he might have, if he did touch the body and what part of the body he touched.
All right, so you called him to ask him if he had touched her.
Right. Well, if he had, I know that he didn't administer any CPR, but they were checked. According to what I was told and what the report reflected, they checked for a pulse. So where he would have checked for a pulse, whether it was the, brachial or whether it was in the wrist and if he had.
Was it recorded by any chance, the phone call? Was anybody else around when you called him? Do you remember?
I don't believe so. If anybody, it would have been Tyler, but Tyler was next door in the other office. So I don't believe that anybody was in my office. And no, I never made a habit of, I'm usually not involved in, the investigations to that point. I'm usually talking to somebody about an issue or a problem that they might have with a case, but I didn't take phone calls.
The reason I'm asking all this is because Jose has said that he did not touch her arm, did not move her arm, and said that he never had that conversation with you.
No, he did.
So we're trying to clarify why he would say he moved her arm if he didn't, and why, why he wouldn't tell us now if he told you then that he moved her arm.
Yeah, I don't know, but we had the conversation. I mean, I did call him. I would imagine if you look at, my phone records with his phone, personal phone, it should have a call or two from me at different points in the investigation. But it wasn't like, to me, it was any significance. It was just the fact that we were trying to find out if he took a pulse and where.
So you wouldn't have just written that report to cover for somebody else touching her body or anything like that?
No, of course not. I don't do that. I've been doing this too long. I have nobody to cover for, and that's really why I was explaining to you about our relationship, because all this nonsense has come out, and I met him through being an investigator at the courthouse. James Dunn said he was a good dude, and I said okay. So I maybe talked to him 2 or 3 times over there, and then he and Alexis got fired from their jobs with state probation. and James was like, man, he's a good dude. If you could try to help him get a job. So I did. I talked to the sheriff about him. I said, look, here he's got a good reputation over there with the judges and the ADAs and as a hard worker. But here's what happened, And I said, he got fired for lying. I mean, that was the bottom line. Sheriff said, no, Andy, I appreciate it, but I'm not. We would not take a guy.
And that's when he got fired from this whole case.
Then he got fired again. Then he was, yeah.
So that was when he got fired from his first job.
That's when he got fired from state probation, and then he was Jamie hired him, Tavernier, and he was doing a fine job according, I guess, to Jamie over there. I don't know. He wasn't doing, was not in any issues, and then this came about.
When did you get his cell phone number? Do you remember? Prior to this case.
I'm just thinking of when it would have been sometime after he would have been fired from the state probation. So God, Kelly, I don't know the dates. I don't want to tell you it was like 2014 and it was 2016. I don't know. Whenever he was fired from probation, and I talked to James Dunn about it, that they were gone from the courthouse and they were fired. He said, man, it'd be great if you could, this guy.
Did James Dunn give you his phone number, or did you?
Yeah, James gave it to me. I think I got it through text, and I don't think it's actually. I doubt I even have it because I go through my phone occasionally and purge. No, it's not even on here.
So from being involved in the investigation, Andy, is there any reason you feel why he would now say that he never said that to you? That he never had that conversation with you? I mean, I can tell you he honestly, and I didn't, my coworker Derek talked to him, but he said he honestly seemed surprised and angry that he said that it never happened.
I would not have the slightest clue. It's not like he did something wrong or there was something involved with it. I don't know if he's trying to separate itself from it or not, but I mean, that's the only thing I could think of. I mean, no one was ever, I surely wasn't accusatory. I had a basic question asked. You said you went out to the body, you see that the body's dead. Did you touch her to try to take a pulse or something somewhere?
Okay.
I don't know if I said, did you move her arm? I said, did you try to take a pulse somewhere, and if you did, where? Because I'm sure that came out on 911. She's not breathing. No one can find a pulse.
Okay.
So.
And because I'll tell you, Corey Miller told me that he thinks he may have moved her arm when he checked for a pulse.
Corey might have.
Mm-hmm. So I'm just trying to figure out why Jose would have.
I don't know.
Said it then, not knowing, or if. I mean, do you think it's a situation where he may have felt like he owed you an explanation, and so he just said, "Yeah, I may have moved it."
I really
like
think
a respect thing, maybe.
It could be, but I really think. I don't know that he even realized. It's not a guy who was a cop and used to being around dead bodies, and what the whole situation was. Maybe he didn't realize. Maybe he didn't realize he did, or maybe he didn't realize what I was asking. It was all over the phone. All I said was, "Did you touch the body to take a pulse? Did you move an arm or anything?" If Corey moved it, Corey moved it. I can honestly tell you that, with the limited involvement I had at different points and being involved at different points and just trying to oversee the whole thing
right.
and all of investigations, and being old, I can't tell you that my memory is,
Yeah.
a Mr. Clean whiteboard. Cause,
Well, and that's Corey said the same thing. He said, I can't guarantee. He said, I know I took her pulse, but I don't, you know.
I know for a fact that I talked to Jose. I know that I talked to him early on in the investigation, and I would be 99.9% remiss if I didn't say that I asked him, did you touch the body or move anything? There's no doubt in my mind. If he wants to say that it didn't happen, you can say what you want. You can pull my phone records because you'll see calls from him. Calls from me to him. So.
Did he ever call you about anything during all that? Do you remember?
No. Mm-mm.
So it would have just been outgoing calls from you?
Yeah, it would be outgoing calls from me.
Okay. Do you recall how many times you called him to talk to him? Or how many times you actually talked to him? Not like, missed phone calls I get, like you call him, he doesn't answer, but...
I would say twice, if maybe a third time.
All right, thank you, Andy. Turn that off.